Hello, my YouTube friends. Thanks for joining in today. Man, if you haven't hit that subscribe button or slam that bell, please do now because we got a lot of great things going on. And one is the Shure SM7B microphone giveaway. Man, all you have to do to enter in the contest is type down there as to why you love the Shure microphone, hit that subscribe button, and slam that bell, man, and you're in. Whew. Man, I love this mic. And this will be the third mic we're going to give out. So, what we're trying to do is hit another 1,500 subscribers. And it shouldn't be hard to do with it with your help out there. But today, man, I really wanted to talk about analog or digital and what is best and what the pros are using. There's so many different ideas about the two as to which one is the best. Um, whatever medium you're recording to plays a large role on what type of preamps that you're going to use and microphones. There's really no right or wrong between all that. It's just really what you like to do. But a lot of people, if they're going to be recording to tape, they typically like to use a clean preamp and without any tubes or anything, and pretty much go to tape because the tape has its own saturation and its own noise. So adding tubes and things like that, analog gear to that, a lot of times, they preferred solid state stuff. But if you're recording on, say, digital, perhaps you maybe want some analog gear before it hits your digital medium. And so that might be some manly tube stuff, maybe even some, anything with tubes and it's going to warm up your signal. So that's something that you need to consider as to what medium you're going to be recording on, as to what preamps you like. But these days, man, what's really, really cool is, you can find a nice, beautiful, clean preamp, say like Avalon. Avalon makes some beautiful, clean stuff, and you can go through an Avalon piece and then record it to your digital medium. And then once you're in there, then you can use your plugins to add saturation, second and third harmonics to the recording. So you see, there's just different ways to add noise to the recording, to add flavor and spice. You can do that by distortion. You can do it by doubling the track and adding other plugins to it. So there's all these other avenues to create your sound nowadays. To where when digital was first introduced, a lot of the pros were recording to digital and then dumping to, say, half inch or quarter inch tape, uh, or 2 inch tape, and going back and forth between the two until they got their master. And so, it's a really neat thing to see how they've incorporated digital and analog into the recordings that we're hearing today. And I think a lot of the pros, they really, really love the two. They like being able to, record at 192 and then actually dump that down to half inch tape or whatever, and go back and forth to get their sound. But now, man, they've got all these plugins to emulate some of your reel to reel machines, and that really kind of makes it nice because you can throw these tape decks on each channel, perhaps even your vocal channel, and then have one on the master out as well. You can just dump as many as you need on there to add that flavor of tape saturation. Digital or analog, which is more forgiving? The question there is, I would have to say analog is more forgiving. Uh, and you can look on the thumbnail. I actually put a little API preamp on there with a VU meter on it, and a lot of times you can hit the VU meter a little harder. Anything past the zero, a lot of times it just saturate a little better. Just left you a little more headroom than digital. Once you hit zero with digital, man, anything past that, you've done burnt things, and you're definitely going to get some distortion that isn't pretty out of that. So with digital, you have to be a little more gentle hitting the meters as versus analog and the VU meters. So I like using both, and really, it's good to leave headroom when you're recording, and whenever you do your masters out, because you want to leave, some say, anywhere from -5 dB in that little window there. That way you give the mastering engineer enough room to actually bring up those levels to zero, and and do it in a safe, gentle, beautiful way, because he's gonna decide on what's best for the music, and also how to get the best sound that it'll sound good on all platforms, as far as that goes. But it's really kind of neat if you look in some of the mastering suites and you look inside their studio and see what they're using. They're using a lot of analog gear. I mean, and they're using a lot of solid state stuff. I know Avalon's use a lot, and Tube Techs use a lot, and Manley's use a lot. And those are some analog pieces that have tubes in there. And so, the mastering engineer will sit down with the song, and what works for one doesn't always work on everything else. So it's at their decision as to how they're going to operate and make your song sound the best it can sound on all platforms. And so it's a really neat thing, digital or analog, what's best. I love both, and a lot of the pros will tell you they love both as well. And it's just a neat thing to see how far we've come in the audio world from where everything was analog to and VU meters to now. In this digital world that we're in, man, and the sample rates that we're recording out is crazy insane. Um, that snapshot is like I kind of want to think of a picture as a photographer takes a picture of a sample rate of a picture. There's more blocks in there, and that's what that sample rate is, the clarity of the picture. Well, that's what's happening with digital. Whenever you record in digital, that higher sample rate's gonna have more blocks in it and take a better picture of the audio passing through it. So that's an easy way to describe digital. And then analog, what's neat about analog, I love the fact that you can hit the meters a little harder, man, and go past zero. And there's this cushion in there. It's almost like a forgiving cushion once you get past 0 dB. Now, you can go too far with that, but there is a little play there where it bounces in that area that gives you a little cushion there, and actually adds some of those harmonics in there. That's a beautiful sound to your tracking. So, that raises the question, which one is better? And, it really depends on, for me, if I was going to give any kind of advice, it would be what kind of medium you're recording on. And do you want to and then what kind of plugins you have. It really just depends on the instrument and how you want to address it, and the full picture as to how you want to see it turn out in the end. And having that in mind as a target or area or a certain tune, that how you want to record it or track it, plays a large role on the end results. But just as a few good stuff out there, man, I was going to mention a few. I love Avalon stuff. Actually, the Avalon AD 2022 is a really, really nice preamp if you want to get that. The 1073 by BAE is a really nice piece. Great River is a really nice piece. The API 312 4V is a really, really cool piece. And then Tube Tech MP2A is a really, really nice piece. So there's a lot of nice stuff out there, man. It's just how much you want to spend and whatnot. But also the Universal Audio 2610 is one of my go-to favorites. It always has been. I love the 610. Now they have the 710 Twin out by Universal Audio, which is a nice piece as well. And then if you really want to kind of go solo, you can do the Universal Audio Solo 610, and that's a nice piece. But there's some really good stuff out there, man. Grace makes some really cool stuff. AEA makes some really, really clean stuff. You got 85 dB of gain on that. So if you want to really crank up your microphone and see what it's all about, you've got a lot of headroom. And if you're using a condenser microphone, a good place to start with that is around 30 dB. But if you have a really, really quiet room and a really, really quiet preamp, you can push the levels a little bit and do some really cool stuff with that um, by mic placement and come up with some really cool different sounds by using the preamp, pushing it, but still having plenty of headroom, and then not eating the microphone wherever you place it, so you can get more of an ambient type sound with that, and super super quiet too, man, at the same time. So it's nice having preamps with a lot of freaking gain and a lot of headroom that are super clean. That's why a lot of people like um, clean preamps, because they can always add the distortion and the second and third harmonics to that later on in the mix. So there's really different avenues. It's kind of like, well, what do you want? What do you want to do? But I did want to mention the Dakin preamp. That's a really cool preamp. It's used a lot on different recordings out there. It's kind of like one of those things that kind of gets overlooked a lot, but it is on a lot of recordings. Um, there's Chandler out there. Chandler makes some cool stuff. The Pultec. You got your 500 series. A lot of people like the 500 series because it saves on space, and you can just put these little babies in there, man, in a row, and have all your 500 series, and just go back and forth and see what you want to use. And it saves on money too, man. You can get a bunch of 500 series stuff, probably about half the cost as if you'd spend on a full size rack piece. So a lot of people like going with the 500 series stuff. I like Great River. If I didn't mention Great River, it's some really really cool stuff. There's just some nice stuff out there, and it's really depends on what you want to achieve and what you can afford. I know Manly makes some great gear. Universal Audio, as I mentioned before, makes some great gear. Focusrite makes some really cool stuff. If you're into Focusrite stuff, I know that they've got this one, ISA one. It's kind of neat if you want to just try out their stuff. Runs about $500. You can get into that, and it's got a VU meter on the front. And I've read some good stuff about that. I've never really seen that being used in the studio, but I have read some stuff about that. It's pretty cool. AEA, of course, that's one of my favorite. Warm Audio, I have a bunch of Warm Audio gear behind me. So if you kind of want to get in there and do some nice stuff, I like that Tone Beast a lot because it has two different transformers in it, and you have a lot of variety as far as your settings go. And it really, really is clean, clean, clean preamp, or you can add the vintage stuff to it. And with each increment of the knobs, it really gives you a different sound. That's actually what I'm going through here. I have the SM7B going through the Tone Beast, and then the 76 WA76 going out, and it's going pretty much straight into the computer. Sounds really good, man. And so you can budget things and still get some good sounds. But then if you really want to spend some dough, some breadola, you can jump into the manly stuff and some things like that. Summit Audio is another one I wanted to mention out there. Summit Audio is some really good stuff. Drummers, some really good stuff. There's just a lot of professional stuff out there, and if you're gonna drop some bills, man, it's good to go ahead and do your research on it first and make sure it's been out and it is tried and proven in the recording studio before you just purchase a bunch of stuff that's new that kind of comes and goes. But Dramar's been out there a long time. Manly's been out there a long time. Summit Audio's been out there a long time. Avalon's been out there a long time. Empirical Labs has been out there a good while. But I got to tell you, man, I love Empirical Labs. They just rocking the boat, man. The Universal Audio LA2A is a nice, beautiful sounding compressor that you would probably want to run your vocals through. A lot of people, that's the go-to compressor whenever you run your vocals, is the LA2A, maybe a 1073 through a LA2A compressor, and then whatever medium you're going to be recording that on. Um, I love trying different things, and there is no one shot pony with me. I like trying all different kind of things as long as it's pro gear. I know you can't go wrong using the things that it's already been tried and proven. And so I love Avalon, man. I'm an Avalon guy, and I'm a Universal Audio guy. I love Universal Audio stuff, and I have been using Universal Audio for some time, man. And you can't go wrong with Universal Audio stuff. The 610 preamp is gorgeous sounding, and maybe a 610 pre through a Neumann U87 microphone is a good combination between those two. I've also used the Aventone. I forget what model number that Aventone is, that microphone that's a condenser mic. It has several different polar patterns on it. I like that microphone, but I only like that microphone through certain preamps because it had a really, really bright sound to it. And so really the right microphone and the right preamp is a really detailed thing that you need to pay attention to when you're using your ears, and also the artist that you're recording and how they sing, whether it's a baritone, uh, someone who really has a deep, big voice, or whether they're a tenor like me, or whether it's a chick, a soprano, or a mezzo soprano, depending on their voice, is going to play a large role as to what microphone you're going to use on that person and preamp as well. So the artist, knowing their voice and knowing what range they sing in plays a large role as to what microphones you're going to use. And that was a question that I had for a friend of mine the other day as to when they got a specific artist coming in, was it something that the engineer had in mind as to what microphone they were going to use on that artist before they even got there? Or was that something the artist called in and said, hey, I want to sing through a U47, or I want to sing through a manly mic or whatever. Was that decision made by the engineer or was it made by the artist? And sometimes the artist will kind of have a microphone that they own and they take with them and they use on all their sessions. I want to say, was it Bonnie Ray, or I want to say it seemed like she loved the dynamic RE20, and that was her favorite microphone to do her tracking with. And so, condenser microphones and dynamic microphones, some people sound better through condensers, and some people sound better through dynamics. So, that was going to be one of my questions the other day. But I appreciate you guys joining in. And if you haven't got any of your Christmas shopping done, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, I know there are many out there that don't. But for those of you that do celebrate Christmas, I highly suggest getting out there and doing some of your shopping, because as the day passes by, it gets a little more crazier trying to move through town with the traffic and the Christmas shoppers. And that can be such a headache. And I did order some stuff online through Amazon. I ordered it on the first and I just got it in yesterday. So they're swamped. And so I suggest if you plan on doing any ordering through Amazon, you better get on it, man, because it may not show up in time for Christmas. So we appreciate all you guys out there. We appreciate all your comments out there. Keep them coming in. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Ring that bell because you want to get entered into the contest to win this beautiful sounding microphone, man. This is a beauty out of many that are out there, and for the price, you cannot beat this microphone right here. It is used on countless albums, and I will be doing some tracking with this one and my R44, as well as my AK-47 on some of my next tunes coming out. And you don't want to miss out on that stuff, man, because it's going to be some cool stuff. And hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and we will see you again.